The same thing that happened to Tua has happened again. As most people probably already know, during week 6 on October 16th, tight end for the Buccaneers Cameron Brate took a hit and was forced to be carted off the field because he was unable to get up. Now, I'm personally very surprised because I haven't seen anyone talk about this, and this is an identical situation to what happened to Tua. First, let me quick recap. Against the Bills, Tua took a hard hit, having his head snap back hitting the turf. His hands did a little bit of the thing they did during his next injury. This suggests damage to the brain's cortex. Then Tua visibly stumbled, falling over and needing help walking off the field from his teammate. Following in the locker room, Tua is said just to have a neck injury and came back out to play the rest of this game and then the next one. He was able to do this because he showed no visible signs of a concussion in the locker room, even though it's very unlikely any neck injury would cause the symptoms he displayed on the field. Anyway, everyone knows the story. After coming back out and finishing the game against the Bills, just 4 days later he had another game to play. Tua then was thrown to the ground and was unable to move and needed to be carted off the field. It was a very scary injury, and many medical professionals said that Tua should never play football again. It was said that Tua suffered a concussion and was going to recover. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much on this due to that everyone's talked about it a lot, and this isn't the main point of the video. The point I want to get across is that Tua visibly suffered a concussion, still played, and then suffered a way more serious injury shortly after. Now, on October 2nd, Cameron Brate suffered a hard hit to the head against the Chiefs. He then was extremely slow to get up, stumbled off the field, and even ran into a ref. And to anyone, these are all visible signs of a head injury. And seeing here his teammates helping him out like, hey man, get to the sideline. I mean, hell, he could have been knocked out and forgot entirely where he was. Then in the replay, it's obvious that his head slams into his teammate, Chris Godwin, and that his head is the first point of impact. And with Cameron Brate struggling to get off the field, Tampa Bay was actually flagged with too many men on the field. Brate then supposedly went through the new and improved concussion protocol, with the changes coming after Tua's incident. Then just a few plays later, this man was back on the field. Now, I'm going to be leaving all my opinions out until the end of the video, but this is just absolutely insane. No one must have been thinking about his health. If Cameron Brate took another hit, he could have had second impact syndrome and possibly died. After the game, the Tampa coach said this.
He went on the sideline. He complained of shoulder discomfort, nothing about his head. He was checked out 3 times. He just said give him a minute, nothing came up. He went back in till the end of the half.
The coach then said that during halftime, Cameron Brate said he was suffering symptoms of a concussion. He then sat out for the rest of the game and was on a concussion protocol. Now, I do find it hard to believe that he felt no symptoms of concussion until halftime if he was stumbling off the field. Sure, he might not have a pounding headache yet, but maybe he doesn't remember something, or he just doesn't feel like himself. He just feels off. I think that he would definitely feel at least one symptom that would be recognizable. But according to the coach, he passed the protocol and said only his shoulder hurt. Now, just 2 weeks later, Brate was back playing on October 16th. He took a hit and was unable to get up. He was down for quite a while and eventually was carted off the field. Now, for an odd reason, they didn't replay this on the broadcast at all. But from this view slowed down, you can tell it's a head-on-head collision. This whole situation is identical to Tua's situation. There was a serious concussion that was ignored. For Brate, it was at first ignored, but then he was placed on the protocol list. But for Cameron Brate, with something that serious where you're stumbling off the field, do you really think your brain is fully healed to play again 2 weeks later? This isn't a hot take whatsoever, but in my opinion, I think that players are playing with light concussions all the time. I think teams look at concussions more of an annoyance that their star player can't play rather than a health injury. And as soon as someone says they're allowed to play, they put them back in immediately. A simple Google search can tell you that a very mild concussion takes an average about 10 days to recover from. Now, when you're looking at this football player stumbling off the field, getting hit by a 200-pound truck, do you really think this is a mild concussion? I also think that some players need to take some things into their own hand. It's their body and they know their body better than anyone else. Fuck, if I suffered a concussion, I would sit out until I knew I was fully healed. I don't understand why you'd keep playing. You need to look at the bigger picture. Do you want to be a vegetable for the rest of your life? I mean, you're not going to be playing football forever. Also, if a player sees their teammate or a coach sees their player stumbling off the field, I think they have a concussion. There's a high chance that your player's going to lie about how bad their injury is because they want to get back out on the field. Maybe coaches should look out for their players and maybe purposely sit them if they think they've suffered a severe concussion. In the end, prayers out to Brate, and hopefully people start taking concussions way more seriously.